At the young age of 10 years old, Carabella already knew that she would only like one man in her whole life, and that was William Terence Montemayor. Thea's older brother. Since her family moved to the same village with the Montemayors, in the city of Santa Rosa Laguna, her attention was caught by the oldest child. And because she's an only child, she instantly admired Terence's maturity and leadership. During that time, he's the most charming and admirable man for her. No one can compare, especially because he looked like those dreamy Prince Charming that she watched on her favorite Disney movies. He has light blue eyes that he got from his mother and light brown hair. He's tall, smart, and very prince-like, mostly when he smiled and showing his dimples. Eventually, her admiration turned to full-on crush. And it all started when she was playing outside their house, and suddenly a mad dog came to her, making her froze in fear as the dog kept on barking crazily. When the dog was about to jump and bite her, all she could do was to cover her face and cry for help, but before the dog could come near her, she heard someone shouting and then she saw Terence holding a stick as he shooed the dog away. At that moment she felt like she's a damsel in distress, and being saved by her knight in shining armor. It was so romantic. Then Carabella felt Theus beside her and helped her to stand up, but all of her attention was on Terence, who looked mighty in her eyes, when he succeeded to drive the dog away. She ran to Terence and hugged him tightly, as she cried and told him how much fear she felt. He just gently caressed her hair and calmed her down. Since that day, Carabella told herself that Terence was the only man for her, and that she would marry him once she grew up. But also, since that day Theus became her childhood friend enemy, because he turned annoying and snob towards her. Sometimes he won't stop teasing her until she cries. Very different from the Theus that she first met, quiet and aloof. Now he's always calling her out whenever she did something wrong, so to get even, she's doing her best to annoy him too when she got a chance. But even if they were like cat and dog most of the time, they really liked hanging out together. Even when they turned teenagers, he was like her best friend who hated her at the same time. And he was the only one who knew about her secret feelings for Terence. Hey, why are you peeping there? Carabella scowled and turned to face Theus, who's standing behind her on the side of the wall of their house with the view of the garden. It's Sunday today, their families went to church this morning, and decided to have lunch at the DeLara's house. They just finished having their lunch and the grown-ups decided to have tea at the garden as they talk about their businesses. Terence was with them because he already started training at their family's company. He was on his junior year of college. Terence was already 20 and taking up business management. He was 3 years older than Theus, who's 17 years old now, and on his last year of senior high. While Carabella was only 15 years old and still in high school. Stop it, you make it sound like I'm a pervert. And lower your voice, Kuya, Terence might hear. Kuya. Carabella was shocked when Theus suddenly shouted. Her eyes went big as she instantly covered his mouth. What the hell, Theus? She hissed and looked at the garden to see if they heard him, and thank God, they didn't. Theus took her hand off of his mouth and gave her a, "You're stupid," kind of look. Anyone who would see you here will think that you're a pervert. And why are you here when you can join them there? She just rolled her eyes to him and turned to look back at the garden. Letting her eyes enjoy the face of her dream man. Well, I can look at Kuya Terence from here properly without him knowing. You know that I feel shy when he's in front of me. Gosh, look at him, he's so handsome, right? She said with her dreamy voice. The Montemayor brothers got the same amount of handsomeness, but they got different eyes and hair colors. Terence got his mother's eyes and hair, while Theus got his father's black hair and darkest brown eyes. Also, Terence got dimples, making him look more adorably handsome. Both of them got the strong and intimidating characteristics of a Montemayor, but Terence liked to smile and naturally friendly. While Theus was totally the opposite of his brother, he liked to be alone most of the time and only got few friends, and he was rarely smiling. She actually doubt he knew how to. Why are you asking me that? Are you stupid? Theus asked behind her, and he's obviously annoyed. No, and be quiet, you're noisy. She just sighed and shook her head. He was being moody again. And you're pathetic, Theus said, that made her shock as she turned to look at him. He's frowning and looking so annoyed at her. Hey, that's mean. No, it's not. I'm just telling the truth. Look, you're just 15 and you're acting like you know what's love already. You even daydream that Kuya Terence will like you back. He sees you as a sister only, you're hopeless and pathetic. Carabella was taken aback and was so shocked that she just stared at him with her teary eyes. They're both teenagers now, but he said that like she was still 10 and so dumb. Was it wrong to feel special for someone at her age? Was she not allowed to like someone even if some of the girls around her age had boyfriends already? It was not like she was flirting with him, she didn't even have the courage to do that. And she was aware that she's still young. But was it really a sin to like someone? Why is he accusing me so badly? Hey, why are you crying? Theus was shocked when she started crying silently as she bowed her head. She couldn't believe that he thought she was pathetic and dumb. She thought that Theus understood her feelings for Kuya Terence, because he was always supporting her, but today she realized that maybe he's just doing all of that because he pitied her. Carabella moved back when Theus tried to hold her face, but he still got to hold her arm, pulling her closer. Then he lifted her jaw gently for their eyes to meet. I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that in a harsh way. I'm just annoyed because you already knew that Kuya has a girlfriend but you still like him, he said in his calm voice, as he wiped her tears. He genuinely cared for her. She didn't say anything and became quiet as she stared at his face dumbfounded, because she was not used to this, caring, Theus in front of her, he never acted softly to her. It felt different, but a good different. And it was his first time saying sorry. Verbally. Because when he did something wrong he would just treat her to her favorite Japanese restaurant, and it was like common sense that he was sorry. Stop staring at me, you're ugly, Theus said, still in his calm voice, when he noticed her intense staring, then he suddenly pinched her nose to wake her up. Theus, stop, it hurts, she shouted as she pushed him away and gave him a deadly stares. Hey, you two, what are you doing there in the corner? Carabella instantly looked at the garden with shock when she heard her father's voice asking them, they probably heard her scream. But her eyes went back to Theus when he walked past her, heading to the table at the garden where everybody was sitting. It's nothing, Tito, we're just talking about Carabella's crush. And she couldn't believe that Theus said that like it was normal topic to talk about with everyone, especially with their parents. Damn him, crush, and who is that young man Theus? Her father asked that made her nervous, as she silently prayed that Theus won't spill her secret. I'm sorry Tito, but it's a secret. That's the reason why she cried just now, because I found out who was her crush. She made me promise to not tell anyone, Theus said that made her calm down, a bit. She followed him to the garden not making eye contact to anyone, but she felt their eyes on her. Okay, I understand. Crush is fine but no boyfriend sweetie until you're 20, okay. Her father said that she nodded and gave him a smile. It's actually nothing, Dad. Theus just kept on teasing me, she said pouting that made everyone laughed. She just raised her brow at Theus when their eyes met, as she walked to the vacant chair between him and Terence, who gave her a sweet smile that she returned with the same manner. When she sat, Theus chuckled and whispered. Nothing huh, she just secretly pinched his arm that made him winch a bit. Their parents' conversation went back to business. Carabella just busied herself eating the muffin as their dessert and iced tea, that she almost spit out when Terence moved closer and whispered to her. You're being unfair, why you didn't tell me who's your crush Carabella? I thought you liked me more than Theus, he said sulking. She was coughing as she felt her cheeks turning tomato red with his closeness and that shocking whisper. She was not expecting that. And how would she answer that question when he was her secret crush? This is so messy. Hey, are you okay? Terence asked. She just nodded her head as she tried to think of a lie to tell him. Then she heard Theus laugh beside her. Sorry Kuya, but it's only between me and Carabella. She'll never tell you who's her crush because he is so ugly. She turned to Theus as she slapped his arm, giving him the, what the hell, look. He just answered her with a smirk before drinking his iced tea. God, he's so annoying. I don't think Carabella cares about the face value, Theus. Anyway, I'm happy that you guys are getting closer now, Terence said that she just smiled but Theus chuckled again. What are you talking about, Kuya? We're always close, it's just not obvious, right Carabella? She just gave him an annoyed look. Her closet was a mess as her eyes were red from crying so much for 2 hours now, but Carabella didn't stop from searching every corner of her closet. Her clothes were all in the floor like there was a thief who came looking for jewelries and money. But she was not looking for those, she's looking for Knight, a white teddy bear that Terence gifted to her during her 10th birthday. She had been trying to throw it away, whenever she learned that Terence got a new girlfriend, to make herself forget about her feelings for him but she couldn't. Knight was so special for her, so she just decided to hide it when Terence had a girlfriend and only brought it out when he was single, or when she needed something to talk and cry on, like today. She was crying for hours now, because she couldn't help but to be sad and upset about everything that was going on with her life. Next month was gonna be her debut, she would be 18 years old and she was having a grand party, therefore she asked Terence to be her escort but he declined, because his girlfriend didn't want to. And she couldn't blame her, because who in the right mind would let their boyfriend be the escort of another girl? Carabella wiped her tears that didn't want to stop, as she sat on the messy floor of her closet. She already accepted that Terence only saw her as his younger sister, but she couldn't help to be sad. Where are you Knight? She said as she cried some more. Where was that teddy bear when she was certain that she hid it here in her closet? She wiped her tears again and stood up, as she tried to look for Knight above her cabinets. What are you doing? She jumped and felt her heart leave her body when she heard someone asked behind her, and when she turned around and met Theus' eyes she instantly punched him on the chest. What the hell? You scared me, she screamed as she cried again and sat back on the floor. She didn't care anymore if she looked stupid because she really felt stupid right now. Theus sighed and sat in front of her and silently wiped her tears. Tita Bea was right, you've gone crazy, he said that earned a slap on his chest from her but he just laughed. Her mother already knew about her secret crush on Terence, when she caught her writing love letters for him when she was 16. Her mother just smiled at her and said that it's normal, but she shouldn't be too serious because love was not always right when you're young and still confused. Stop laughing at me, she said and pushed him away but he didn't move. Theus was just looking at her intently. What's wrong Carabella? Why are you crying so much, when this is not the first time that Kuya had a girlfriend? He asked. Carabella bit her lower lip. I want him to be my escort, you knew that. And her tears fell again as she stared at his worried face. Theus sighed and took a handkerchief on his pocket and gave it to her. She used it but she couldn't really stop crying. If Kuya don't wanna be your escort, let him be, there's still a lot to choose. Then can you be my escort? She cut him. That made Theus looked at her with shock, then he sighed. Carabella shook her head, then stood up and walked out to her room, leaving him inside her closet. Don't you think you're being selfish and unfair, Carabella? Not because you wanted it you have to have it. Kuya Terrence is a human and you can't have him at your whim. Theus said. That made her stopped from walking. Selfish. I'm only asking for an escort for my 18th birthday. I won't be 18 again, can't I be happy just for a night? It's not like I'm asking him to break up with his girlfriend. She said, full of hurt, then she turned to look at him. And I'm asking you to be my escort instead. What's your reason why you don't want to? Theus just looked at her for a moment, before sighed again and didn't answer her. But Carabella already knew the answer. He's leaving next week to London, where he would continue his last year of college, then he would have his MBA there before he returned to manage his grandfather's, mother's side, multi-million-dollar company. She learned about all of this from Terrence, when she went to their house to ask him to be her escort, that he declined, but he promised to be on her party and be one of her 18 roses. But what hurt her the most was when she learned that Theus was leaving next week without telling her. And it was so sad that her friend enemy would not be on her 18th birthday. She was not being petty, she just wanted to be with her loved ones during her special day, but how could she stop him from leaving? She couldn't be that selfish. Yes, she was disappointed that Terrence didn't wanna be her escort, it's really her dream to have him as her partner. But she understood his reason, it's not a big deal because she already expected that Theus would be her escort. But she found out that he was already leaving next week, so he couldn't be her escort. He knew how excited she was to have her debut party, and he couldn't wait a month before leaving. And what really hurt her was he knew he was leaving for months now, and he didn't even bother telling her. She felt so betrayed, and this was the first time that she felt her heart being broken, like it was shattered into pieces. Not having Theus around was surprisingly more painful than finding out every time that Terrence had girlfriend. Carabella sighed when she felt Theus walked near her. Just leave me alone, Theus. But she was cut when he pulled her arm and made her turn to face him. Fine. Do you want me to do something to make Kuya agree to be your escort? Do you want me to ruin their relationship for you to be with him? I can do that, consider that as my birthday gift. This time she was the one that cut him by slapping his face. Enough. Just go away, she said as her tears blurred her eyes. He is so annoying. But she stopped moving away when she saw a smirk on his lips when he looked at her. Why? You can't accept that you're being selfish. Please, Theus, did you come here to rub it on my face? Fine, I'm selfish. Happy now. It's easy for you to say that because you have no idea how it feels to like someone who will never like you back. But Carabella was shocked when he pushed her to the wall, making her a prisoner between his arms, as his dark eyes looked at her full of fury. She felt her heart beats faster as she looked at his face that was really mad at her, but it's also inches away from hers. What do you know about me, Carabella? He asked. That made her bit her lip. He really looked mad serious, and this was the first time she saw this side of him. Tell me, did you ever put attention to me ever since to say that I know nothing about liking someone? I doubt it, because there's never a day you're not thinking only about my brother. It's always him that got your full attention. He continued, and she still couldn't say anything, because she was really shocked of all these emotions he was pouring at her. She held her breath when his hand lifted to touch her cheek. He caressed it gently as his eyes became soft as he looked at her. His eyes were talking to her in a language she couldn't handle. It was making her heart beat so crazy. That's why she looked away, because she felt like she was losing her breath. But most of all, she couldn't believe her heart's sudden realization. Theus chuckled sadly. Honestly, between the two of us, you're the one who knows nothing. Tell me, Carabella, do you know the difference between like and love? He asked as he lifted her chin for their eyes to meet. And again, his eyes were back to being serious. Carabella couldn't say anything and just kept on staring at his face, then she looked away again and took his hand off of her chin. What's the use of answering that if you're already leaving? I don't need to answer that. And why do you have to know? She looked at him again, but her tears made it blurry again. Just leave me alone, Theus. And I know it's easy for you to do that because you didn't even tell me that you're leaving next week. And she didn't get to finish that again, when he cut their distance and claimed her lips in a deep kiss. She froze and stared at his face that was so close to hers with her eyes wide open. It was her first kiss, and Theus was the one that took it. He was kissing her with his eyes closed, as his hand went to her waist and pulled her closer to him. And that kiss made Carabella realize that he was right. She knew nothing about the difference of like and love. She closed her eyes and held her hand on his shirt tightly, as she felt the sweetness of her first kiss.